A very good morning, my dear students, and welcome to Digital World of Pathania Public School. Today we start our chapter number 11, and the name of the chapter number 11 is List Manipulation. List Manipulation. So, first, here we learn what do we mean by the list. List is a combination of values. If you want to store multiple value at a one place, then you use the list. Then you use the list. So in this chapter, we learn what is list, creating and accessing list, list operators, working with list, and list functions and methodology. List functions and methodology same like you learn uh, string functions and methodology. Here we learn functions and methods of the list. So list, the Python list are container that are used to store a list of values, multiple values of any type. Unlike other variable, Python lists are mutable. You can change the element of a list in place. What do you mean by the mutable? Mutable means changeable. Mutable means changeable. You can change any element. Python will not create a fresh list when you make changes to an element of a list. Is a type of sequence. List is a type of sequence. List is a value of any data type. List is a group of values. So same like string, list is a type of sequence and tuple, but it differ from them in the way that list are mutable, but tuple is the another term we have already learned in chapter number 8 when we learn about the data type. So your list and tuple is also your data type, and this is your immutable means non-changeable. You don't change anything in your tuple. So how to create and accessing a list? How to create a list is a standard data type. What is list? List is a type of Python that can store a sequence of values, the list are depicted through square root. The important part is in list you can write down the square root. In tuple you can write down the parentheses. Following are some list. For example, you just blank it. So this is called the empty list. And 1, 2, 3, 4 integer list. Again, integer and floating list. So no fixed data type is here. You can write integer value, floating value, both type of value in a single, and you can also write down the character values like a, b, c. And if you want to combine the values, for example, this is your character value, then you write down the string value, then again character value, then you write down the floating value, and then you write down the 0. So 1, 2, 3, this is your string data, string values. So in list you can input any type of values like your integer value, float value, string value, character value, or you can store in a list in a same place, a single place, mixed values also. Okay, list are mutable, but your tuple are non-mutable. Okay, after that, at how to create list, one thing that must be clear is that lists are mutable, modifiable, changeable. You can change the list element of a list in place. In other words, the memory address of a list will not change even after you change its value. Everyone learned this point. Your list is a mutable, changeable, modifiable, but the memory address of a list will not change even after you change its value. Even after you change its values. List is one of the two mutable types. Python list and dictionary are mutable. All other data type of Python are immutable. Like your tuple is immutable, but your list and dictionary is mutable, changeable. So creating list, how to create a list? To create a list, put a number of expression in square bracket. So important part is the square bracket, that is the square bracket to indicate the start and end of the list, and separate that by the comma. Like you write down start from the square bracket, then 2 comma 4 comma 6, then you write down 2 comma 3.6 point. So here you see how we create a list. First you take the name of the list. For example, here we take the name L. Here we take the name L. The empty list. What do you mean by the empty list? One is your long list, empty list. So different types of list are there. This construct is known as a list display construct. List display list display construct. So the empty list, what do you mean by the empty list? The empty list is only square brackets, only blank square brackets. It is the list equivalent of zero or dash, blank, white space, and like them it also has truth value as false. You can also create an empty list as variable name. Your list name is equal to list, and then you write down simple parenthesis. No, not a parenthesis, you write down the square bracket here. So lists are formed by placing a comma separated list of expression in square brackets. Long list. What do you mean by the long list? Long list is a list contains many element. Then to enter such long list you can split it across several lines like below. You write down a list name squares, and then you write down 0 1 2 3 comma 49 64 81 for 1. So many values you can input here, multiple value you can input here. So this is called your long list. This is the name of the long list. Another is your nested list. Another is nested list. A list can have an element in it. When you input the element between your list, like you have created the list, but here you see you have inputted another list between the list. So this is called your nested list. So creating list from existing sequence, if you have already creating list from existing sequence, already sequence is created, then you want to create that list, then how to create it? You can also use the built-in list type object to create list from sequence as per the syntax given below. So first you write down the list name, then list keyword, and then you write down the sequence. And here you see, for example, you write down L1 is equal to list hello, and then you write down L is equal to first string, second string, third string, fourth string, and fifth string, and then again you write down T is equal to WERTY. So L2 is equal to list T. So L2 is your VERTY, and L1 is your hello. You can see this method of creating list of single character or single digit via keyboard input. Consider the code below. So L1 is equal to list, and then you write down the list is your data type. So don't need to write here int float. So you write down here instead of int float list. The data type is list, and then you write down the input function, then you input any list here. For example, you inputted 2 3 4 5 6 7. So you see here 2 3 4. So your list will be displayed like this. Each character will be separated by the comma operator, and each character display like a your string. So notice this way the data type of all character entered is string. Even though we enter digits to enter a list of integers though keyboard, you can use the method given below. Most commonly used method to input list in eval, very important function here, eval. Eval. So eval, eval is another function of your Python. Same like it works same like a input function. It works same like a input function as shown below. So eval tries to identify type by looking at the given expression read on the next page. So you see here, you write down here eval and then you write down input. So print the list. Now your eval will be inputted your values and your list will be displayed. So when you execute, it will work somewhat like enter list to be added. Okay, list you entered, so you entered list will be displayed on the screen. So eval, please note everyone, sometimes not always, eval does not work in Python shell. At that time you can run it through a script or program too. The eval function, so you see here what is the eval function. Eval function of Python can be used to evaluate. EVL means evaluate and return the result of an expression given as a string. For example, you write down in a string 5 plus 8. So your answer is 13. Similarly, following code fragment 3 comma 13. So it display the 30. So why display the 30? And for example, you write down variable 1 is equal to eval input enter value and then print variable 1, then type variable 2. So here we have displayed two things. One is input value. For example, we have inputted 15 plus 3 and then variable 1. Variable 1 means your 15 plus 3 answer is 18. So 18 at 18, why display 18? Because of the VR1. And then type means your class. Which class? So type variable 1 is integer, so it display the integer here. See, the eval has not only interrupted the string 15 plus 3 as 18 but also stored the result as int value. Thus with eval, if you enter an integer or float value, it will be repeated the values as the intended type. Okay, so you can do the practical of these program beta. Next is your accessing a list. You have already created a list. Now the next step is accessing a list. How your list will be accessed? So lists are mutable, editable, sequence having a progression of element. There must be a way to access its individual element, and certain there is. But before we start accessing individual element, let us discuss the similarity of list with string. So what is the similarity between the string and the list? That will make it very clear to you how individual element are accessed in list. The way you access string element following subsection will make the things very clear to you, I bet. So you see here we have input, when we have input the similarity of with string, list are sequence just like string. In list are the sequence same like the string. That you have read in previous chapter. What is the index and string? They also index their individual element. They also index their individual element just like string do, just like string. So same like string, it display the indexing. So recall figure 8.1 of chapter 8 that talks about the indexing in string, positive indexing and negative indexing. Positive indexing always start from the 0 and the last value is -1, and the negative indexing always starts with the -1. So same like forward indexing and your backward indexing. So here list element, two way of indexing, like you can create a list here and lists are stored in memory exactly like string, except that because some of their objects are larger than others, They store a reference at each index instead of single character as in string. Each of the individual item of the list are stored somewhere else in the memory. So now, uh, thus you can access the list element just like you access a strings element, like list I. How you access it? With the help of list I. The I denote your values here. Will give you the element at with index of the list A ratio B. So will give you element between indexes A to B minus 1 and so on. So length, put in other word, list are similar to string in following ways. Length function length return the number of item count in list L. Indexing and slicing, same things are there. Li and return the item at index I. The first item has index is 0, and if you write down the Lij, so it decides the starting and ending value. So return a new list containing the object at index J between I and J excluding index. Membership operator, two operator are there. In and not operator, concatenation operator, yes, here in list concatenation operators are there, and your replicating operator is also there. So these are the similarity in your list and the string. Accessing individual element. If you want to access a single element here, then how you do it? As mentioned, the individual element of a list are accessed through indexes. Consider the following example. For example, vowels, we have write down A, E, I, O, U. You see here the vowel are A, E, I, O, U. So on the indexing of 0, your vowel is A. On the indexing of for your vowel is u, and same like on the vowel of -5 your value is a. So like strings, if you give index outside the legal indices, for example 0 to length -1, same or minus length plus 1, so up till -1, so it start from the 0 and our last value is length -1. Same like if negative are there, then start from the -1 and then -2, -3, -4, 1 increment is there. So Python will raise index error, see below. So here see the error. For example 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Only 4 indexing is there, and you have displayed here vowel 5 is not legal index of for vowel, so it display the error. Trackball most recent code list last file python cell 1 line 1 in module vowel list index out of range. The error name is index error and the name is list index out of the range. Now, what is the difference between the list and the string? Difference between the list and the string. Although lists are similar to string in many ways, yet there is an important difference in mutability of the two, and string are not mutable while list are mutable. List is mutable, changeable, modifiable, but string is not a mutable. You cannot change individual element. What is the difference? You cannot change individual element of a string in place, but list allow to do so. That is a following statement fully valid and for the list though not for string. For example, you write down Li is equal to element. For example, consider the same vowel list created above that store all vowel in lowercase. Now if you want to change some of these value, or you or some of these vowel, you may write something as shown below. How? See here. Hmm. Yes, see here beta. Traversing a list. Recall the traversing of a sequence means accessing and processing each element of it. Thus, traversing a list also means the same, and the same is tool of it for it, that is Python loops. That is why something we call traversing. Like you have write down the for loop makes it easy to traverse or loop over the items in a list as per following syntax. For example, you write down for, then you write down item in list. If you are item in list, then it display the true, otherwise your answer is false. So for example, following loop shown each item or of a list, L is separate line. For example, here we create a list L, name is L, and then we write down string python, and here we display for a in L and display the A. The above loop will produce result as how it work. See here. The loop variable A in the above loop will be assigned the list element one at a time. So loop variable A will assign P in first iteration and hence P will be printed. In second iteration A will get element Y and Y will be printed and so on. If you only need to use the use of indexes of element to access them, you can use functions range and length. For index in range length, and then you write down the L here. Why we write down the L? Because the name of the list is L, and then process list and then write down index here. So better do the practical of this. Here your length and the range is there, and so you see the output. Here we display the A at index 0 and -6 element, so it query will be displayed like this.